Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle, the podcast for high performers who've gone all in, but still feeling a little stuck. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, coach, speaker, and creator of the Prime Performance Process. If you're a solopreneur, small business owner, or just launched your side hustle and you're tired of grinding with no momentum, this is for you. Every week, we bring you guests that have broke the code, generated momentum, and finally got unstuck. And we're diving into their stories, their struggles, and their secrets to generating massive momentum in both their personal and professional lives. We don't do fluff here. We do frameworks, real talk, and share the kind of insights that get you unstuck for good. Welcome, and let's get rolling. But before we dive in, I gotta remind you, if you're overwhelmed, spinning your wheels, or just tired of hustling without the results, it's time for a Prime Performance Strategy session. In this free call, we'll zoom out on your life and business, identify the real reason you're feeling stuck, and build a game plan to help you reclaim your confidence, energy, and gain some clarity so you can get back to doing what you set out to do. Lead, grow, and thrive. This isn't surface level coaching. It's a system built on resilience, intentionality, clarity, and alignment. So head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to grab your spot today. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Let's get going and help you look good, feel good, and do great things. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. I'm super excited to introduce you guys and have you guys enjoy this conversation we're about to dive into, because today I'm joined by Maria Garcia. Sorry, I tried to mix your name together there. And we recently got connected through a mutual networking agency group, I guess I would say, personal development. It's the CLA kind of does a little bit of everything, I feel like. And what they do really well, I should say, is they connect a lot of great individuals. And I had the opportunity to connect with Maria on a call and follow up afterwards. And I felt like she had such a great story, very inspiring. And I feel like you guys are just going to love it as well. So Maria, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm happy to be here and I'm doing very well.
Awesome. So before we kind of dive into the nitty gritty, would you mind kind of introducing who you are and what it is that you do best?
Okay, I'm Maria. I'm in New Jersey, out of New Jersey. And I say that I'm a nutrition coach with the sexy voice. And I'll explain what that means in this podcast. What I do is basically coach people so they can unlock optimal health.
Love that. And primarily through nutrition and other health practices, or is it just purely dietary?
It's primarily nutrition because I feel like once you have that part correct, then everything else can layer on top of that. But if you don't have that part correct, you're going to always be working against yourself.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. That's so true, because I remember back when I was personal training and strength and conditioning, a lot of guys were trying to lose weight to get the abs and everything. They were just doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of crunches and sit-ups all the time. And I'd always tell them, like, hey man, the abs are made in the kitchen. You got to pay attention to what you're eating, and that's going to help fuel you so you have better workouts and better everything else in the world too. So
Exactly.
how did you get into nutrition coaching?
That's a long story, and I'll try to condense it. So when I was 25, I ended up at the hospital, and I thought I had food poisoning because I had eaten shrimp that day and whatever. So I ended up at the hospital, and they tell me, Miss, after some testing, we think you're having a stroke. And I'm like, what? So much for food poisoning. But then my second thought was, what's a stroke? I had never even heard the word. I didn't know what that was. Anyway, within 24 hours, I was paralyzed from the nose down, which means I wasn't able to speak and move nothing. I had a surgery, which is a surgery that goes in through the groin to bust the clot in your brain. And that at the time was probably 20 years ago. was not that successful that often. So I actually lived through that, which was a miracle. And then everybody was celebrating, and I'm thinking, no, I'm not celebrating. I'm locked in my body. They don't even realize I'm here. It was 2 weeks before anybody noticed that I was actually conscious.
Wow. So you were just kind of laying there and waiting for somebody to realize that you're there, you're conscious. And could you move your eyes? Because you said you couldn't do and move anything essentially from the nose down, right? So
Yeah,
how did they?
that's a good question. So it was a friend of mine who came in with pictures from a trip we took that realized I was tracking with my eyes. So she went and alerted the professionals, and they came back to her and said, no, that's involuntary eye movements.
So all right, so you're there. You kind of made this signal that you are conscious, you are aware. Your friend notices this, goes to get help, and then they kind of shut that down. What happened next?
I think she must have told my family also, and somebody thought to say, blink once for yes, twice for no, and that was when I first started communicating.
Wow, that's crazy because I feel like I've always like heard like blink once for yes or blink no or twice for no, but I've never really met somebody where that actually happened and that was really like a crazy situation because I would imagine that essentially saved your life, right? Because then you were able to what happened after that? Kind of get how did you go from only being able to move your eyes to now back to what you're doing?
That started really slowly with a movement of my index finger like this, right? So I started moving index finger. Then we devised a way for me to communicate using the alphabet and finger taps. And then little by little, I started to regain some function, which I credit my brother with because he would go to the hospital daily and he would move my limbs up and down all around when I was able to do it. And I was also getting zero physical therapy.
Wow. So you essentially were communicating with Morse code. Wow. And then your brother came in, helped you kind of move a little bit, hopefully getting some kind of blood flow and circulation. And how long did this whole process really start to take until you were, I guess, more like independent, I guess?
That took a while. That took a while. I was at the first hospital, I think it was something like 43 days. Then I went to a rehab hospital and I was so relieved because I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to have to look at the ceiling anymore. And I thought to myself, they're going to patch me right up and I'm going to go fine. I'm going to go home walking because I had no reference for what a stroke was.
So
Right?
you're sitting there, you're thinking, all right, I'm going to go get right back out there and moving again. And the doctors and family, they weren't really explaining the severity of the whole situation.
No, and I'm actually thankful for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. And so okay, so that's like you were there, you moved to another hospital. Oh my gosh, and you were just like essentially just staring at the ceiling for 40 days. That's got to be insanely difficult.
You know what was the worst part? The worst. They would leave the TV on, right? So I was watching the TV or the ceiling, and I would see commercials for food. And at the time, I couldn't eat, and it was like torture, such torture.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I imagine that. And like yeah, I remember when I was in high school and just going to lunch during wrestling season and watching all my friends eating like the cookies and everything. And I just remember sitting there and just watching it and like, oh, I wish I could just smell it at least. Like that's all I want to do is just smell it. And then that was pretty much it. But that's the cruel punishment. And I'm guessing where does nutrition come into this whole story besides just watching and being tortured by food?
Oh, that comes in way later. That comes in 15 years after I had the stroke.
Okay, so let's bridge the gap a little bit there. So you've got the stroke, you're starting to make some progress, you're now into the rehab center. How are things going from there?
They're going better because now I'm getting 3 hours of therapy a day. So that was nice. I was moving my arm, my right arm and my leg. And I remember one of the times I went to therapy, they were evaluating me and they handed me a hair comb in my right hand and said, "Here now, just comb your hair." And I was like, "That's so easy." So I go to comb my hair. I get the first about here. If you're watching here, if you're not watching, about 6 inches away or 4 inches, and I couldn't get the brush near my head. And I started wailing because that's when I realized, holy smoke, the mountain that lays ahead.
Yeah, that's got to be insane because you're thinking something simple as just brushing your hair, and then you go to actually perform it, and you're not even close. Like, that's got to be gut wrenching. And how did you stay motivated to kind of keep moving forward? Because that's got to be a hard pill to swallow at that moment.
I think it was my family. It was my family. They kept the hope alive when I had zero hope because I was in a wheelchair when I went home. I was wearing diapers at 25, couldn't swallow, had to learn to rewrite. Just basically going through a second childhood, but conscious that I used to be able to do that, now I can't. And it wasn't until I finally was able to walk well enough to go to the gym that I joined the yoga class because I figured it's going to be adaptable. That was when the black cloud first started lifting because
Mm.
it's such a powerful emotional or mental exercise. And I did not know that. I did not know that that's what was going to happen.
Okay, so I'm guessing you're out of the rehab hospital now. You're joined gyms, you're taking these classes. Are you still living with family, or where are we at now, timeline away from when the stroke happened?
After I had my stroke, I didn't live alone until 13 years later. All that time between, I was living with my parents.
Yeah, so what I'm curious to hear is, are you were at the rehab hospital and then you left and now you're starting to take these yoga classes. So like, how far since the stroke did you first have your first yoga class, I should say? Was it within a year or was it like over a year?
No, it was over a year, probably 2 or 3 years.
Wow, okay. And that's when, and then what kind of mobility did you have? Full of like arms, legs, and balance and everything at that moment?
Balance, definitely not. The left side was weaker than the right side, and probably not as strong as your average person.
Wow.
Definitely not.
Wow. So this was a crazy recovery journey. And you said that the nutrition comes into play about 13 years after the stroke, right? So moving along, just you're getting mobile again, and like, where do you begin to start like eating and swallowing again?
That was, well, at the hospital, I had a trach, right? So they were feeding me via tube.
Yeah.
When I went home, they'd already removed that, but I was still choking very often on food. So I had to relearn to swallow. The liquids were the hardest, and everything was just really slow. And in that time frame, when I was living at home, I was throwing everything I could at the illness, right? Because I was 25, and if I had to live another 50 years or whatever it was, I needed some quality of life that was not how I envisioned my life for the rest of my life. So I did stem cell injections. I did hyperbaric oxygen therapy. I went to Germany for therapy for 2 months almost. And I was just doing everything under the books: macrobiotic, pescatarian, vegetarian. And nothing was everything had a level of it working, but I didn't know what exactly was working. I figured everything was in combination, and it was just so slow. It was painfully slow.
Mm. Yeah, that's got to be extremely frustrating. So you're trying all these different modalities and therapies, and you're seeing some movement, but you're not really sure if it's actually progress. And so you're bouncing back and forth between a lot of different things. And then how did you find what did you find that really ended up working the best for you?
So funny enough, at 10 years, I was just like, I'm sick of this. I'm tired of just living to try to recover. I want to just live. And I had plateaued for about 2 years. So I finally, at 10 years, I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm just gonna not do all these crazy workouts. I'm not going to research therapies. I'm just going to live. Right. So I went back to school, was working with a friend to get out of the house, really. And I was just plodding along at about 70% of what my function was before the stroke. And one day I saw an ad for a nutrition course. And I thought to myself, you know what? This sounds really interesting. I already am pretty passionate about nutrition. I already tried all kinds of modalities. And maybe I'll learn something new about a topic I already enjoy. So I moved forward and I joined. Within probably something like 6 months, I had recovered another 20% and I got my life back. And I got my life back. 15 years after stroke.
Yo, what's up? Sorry for interrupting. It's me, Rob. If you've been listening and thinking, man, I just know I'm capable of so much more, but something's just really not clicking, well, I've got something for you. It's called the Prime Performance Personality Quiz. And in just a few minutes, you'll uncover what's actually slowing you down. So whether it's a mindset block, energy drain, or a lack of clarity, this quiz is going to give you specific insights to help you build momentum again. Again, this quiz is free, fast, and honestly, freakishly accurate. So take it now over at survivingthesidehustle.com/quiz and stop spinning, start winning today. Wow. So what were the main things you're doing? So you've developed this new knowledge of nutrition, and what was it that was working well for you in terms of nutrition?
Well, for one, hydration. Proper hydration, because we all say, oh, we should drink so much, and we never do it.
Yeah.
So proper hydration was one of the things. Also, I stopped being a vegetarian because I thought I was doing my health good. But then I realized, or I learned through the course, that yes, some people choose to be vegetarians because of humanitarian reasons, but it's not helping your health. It's hurting your health. So,
Okay. So then you started introducing animal products and more water, and that seemed to just really jumpstart and exponentially speed up your recovery because you jumped 20% in 6 months.
and
Wow.
15 years after stroke, when I thought I had plateaued and there was no more, I thought I was going to live like that.
That is crazy. So is that what you do for nutrition? You essentially teaching, I guess, bringing it like carnivore diet, or is it like, what does it look like with what you're teaching?
So I do a 3-month program, and first we talk about your food psychology, why you're eating what you're eating, why you don't like certain things, and that's where all other diets really fail. Diets, and this is not a diet, but this is where all other diets fail, because if I just hand you a list and say, Rob, I have this great thing, do it for a couple of months, you're gonna go, that's a mountain.
Yeah.
So we address that first, and then we move very slowly throughout the 3 months, and then you start to see things happening in your body. And it's more than about just hydration and protein. There are a lot of moving pieces.
Okay. So you're really kind of looking at what each person, like where they start from the mindset to what they've been consuming, and then kind of making small manageable changes over the course of like 3 months or so.
Yes, but the thing is, when people join, it's not as nuanced as everybody's going through different things. It's more like we're all going to do this at the same time, because there is a diet whereby humans function optimally. Because let's put it this way, every species has a diet. Cows eat grass, horses eat hay, and dung beetles eat poop. Right? But who am I to go to the dung beetle and say, don't eat poop, that's gross?
Yeah.
That's what makes that's what makes them thrive. If they eat something else, they're not gonna they're gonna live, but they're not gonna function as well, right? And humans, we're a species. We're a Homo sapiens species.
Yeah. So what do you say to people who they swear by vegan diets and no animal products at all?
But that's a charged question.
Well, I'm just curious on what your opinion is on it.
If you're doing it for your health, you might want to look into other things. And if you're doing it for the animal welfare, you better be really careful how you supplement. Because otherwise it'll take a toll on your health eventually.
So what are the major things that like a vegetarian or a vegan diet are missing that they need to supplement with?
Iron is one, B12 is another. And for everybody thinking, well, I'll just eat more beans because there's iron in those. No, the iron that humans need, the bioavailable heme iron, is only available through animal products. The one in beans is not heme.
Interesting. See, I didn't know that about the iron and such. I do understand though, like the B12, and I know creatine is also a major thing that you get from animal products and such. And I know that a lot of vegetarians tend to be low in some of that too, especially if they're working out or if they're athletes. It's much more harder for them to kind of get their creatine in and a bunch of other vitamins and stuff too. So that's good to just kind of remember and remind that and share that there. And then so majorly you're teaching people to have like a well-balanced diet that's meant specifically for humans. And then you also place a pretty good emphasis on hydration too, which I absolutely love because like we were saying earlier, everybody's always like, yeah, I drink enough, or yeah, I should drink more, but then nobody ever does.
Myself included, by the way.
Yeah. And it's tough too because I was in the same boat where when I was younger and teaching nutrition, I would always say the same thing, like just it's not that hard. Just drink a little bit more, drink a little bit more. But it is difficult, especially now running around all day long, different meetings, conversations and such. It is pretty difficult to kind of find ways to squeeze that in. But you got to figure out ways. You got to figure it out, whether you analyze it or look at yourself and look at your own schedule, or you hire a coach to hold you accountable. You got to get it done though, because it's your health, and what fuels you is what's really going to move you forward. But I would love to kind of dive in a little bit more. So you said that a bunch of people kind of sign up with you when you do these groups, right? Or do you do one-on-one, or is it mostly just group coaching?
I also do one-on-one if somebody prefers to do one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And group. I do both.
Yeah, I would imagine the groups are pretty popular just because there tends to be that social component. There's the camaraderie. There's additional layers of accountability. So I find that to be pretty interesting and probably pretty good for a lot of people. I think that's why CrossFit was so popular when it first came out, because it created the sense of community that a lot of people were looking for.
Yes, and helping people learn from each other's circumstances.
Yeah, you learn and share and bond through the different experiences and circumstances, exactly like you said there. So I love that. But I'm also interested too. So where are you at now in the recovery window for yourself? You said you jumped back up and you're in like the 90s there. So you're pushing back forward through that. And you're saying that nutrition was kind of the catalyst that really escalated that. I'm interested to hear a little bit more on like the physical side of things. What are you doing to continue to keep yourself active? I have a hard time believing your brother still comes over and moves your arms and legs around for you. So what else do you do to keep yourself active and strong?
So I go to the gym about 3 times a week. I started doing that in December. I used to
No-
walk a lot, and now I don't walk that much just because I have an ankle injury, and so it's not that fun to walk.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not fun to kind of keep working through that. And I also wanted to ask you a question here a little bit on identity, because you had mentioned how when you first had this stroke and you went to comb your hair, you were saying like, oh, this is easy. I can definitely do this. How has your identity or concept of self kind of changed and evolved over the years? Because I know for a lot of listeners like paying attention now, there are certain identity shifts that do need to change when you do get into the entrepreneurial world or the business realm of things, because you have to wear multiple hats. And some people are better at certain hats, whether it's marketing, sales, etc. How did you handle that identity shift, and have you learned from the identity shift over the years?
I think for me, it was much more gradual, so it's hard to say, this is how my identity changed. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was. I was working for a company in finance and I was doing very good. I was doing great. And so it was never a thought in my mind to even do this. But once I saw the impact on me and the impact on all the other participants in my group, I thought, I can't not do this. I cannot do this. So I joined to become a coach. And yeah, I found my own clients. I had to call people, obviously. That wasn't always comfortable. And I remember the first time I held a live class. Before the live class, I had like a total breakdown. I was crying. I couldn't breathe. It was like an anxiety attack, basically. And I had two friends talk me down. One was a mentor, and they just went from there.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty scary and moving through that. But I can tell that you're a very strong individual. You've got an incredible amount of resilience handling a lot of different things. So I imagine a lot of your clients coming to you and connecting with you. I would imagine a lot of what you've learned and grown sheds off onto them, helping them become stronger and individuals and overcoming different things. But I'm interested. So who are the like best fit people for working with you? Is it are do you help people specifically losing weight, or is it like targeting just to have a healthier lifestyle? Or let me rephrase that. How does somebody listening know that they're the right fit for you?
Oof, that's a great question. First of all, I like working with people who are open. That just makes the whole process easier. I like working with people who have health challenges that want to overcome those health challenges and get it through root cause. They're tired of pills, lotions, and procedures, and they know there's a better way.
Mm.
And then just anybody who wants to experience optimal health, because those aches and pains after 40, that's actually not a normal part of aging.
So essentially, you're helping a lot of different people with a lot of different problems, and you're teaching them nutrition and different strategies. And why do you feel that so many people nowadays, I guess, lack the knowledge and understanding of nutrition? You think we're just not teaching enough basics to the kids in schools, or do you think it's just like getting caught up in social media? Like, don't you feel like eating well and eating proper should kind of be like almost like second nature to us?
That's a very deep rabbit hole. Very deep. One of the things is, yes, they're not getting educated. But number two, we've lost total touch with nature and what our bodies actually need. Marketing is a big, big, huge problem as well. And one more thing I'll say is, what we have been taught is healthy might not actually be as healthy as we think.
Yeah, I love that. I love that last piece there too, because I'm kind of in the bucket of always like questioning a lot of different things, and what one person says, I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to figure out why and so on. And I love playing devil's advocate too. So it's always like, okay, well, let me see it from a different perspective and kind of see what are other options and other reasons behind this and that. But I want to bring it back to individuals that you kind of work with. So I know typically people are signing on and working with you for about 3 months. And if they do go in and then they don't renew with you, like they can renew with you again multiple times, right?
Oh, yes, as many times as they want. And after the 3-month program, I have a different program for graduates. And they could always do the 3-month program again for a graduate pricing. So the options are limitless. But I will say that within the 3 months, they get everything. Everything. But some people like more hand holding. And others just, okay, I'm going to run with this.
Yeah, so that's awesome how you're flexible with your support for others and depending on how they're going with it. And I'm curious for long-term performance and success with just overall healthy living. What do you feel is the key to sustaining that long-term success with nutrition?
Let me think about that one for a second. Number one, I think I feel, but I also have a very biased view. I want to just always feel good, right? Because I felt not good. I know what that's like. And I'm never going back there again. I'm never wearing diapers again. I'm never doing any of that stuff. So for me, I have a big why. I have a big why, and I don't need to stray because, yeah, sure, something might be tasty for 5 or 10 minutes, but how's that going to impact me? You know? So it's just,
Yeah, I love that. So essentially what you're saying is kind of like being more conscious and aware of what you're eating and how it's affecting you and checking in and making sure that you're constantly, hey, how am I feeling? How am I how is eating this and that also making me feel?
yes,
You're not
awareness.
necessarily just saying like you got to eat just this for the rest of your life, but checking in with yourself and how certain foods make you feel and really paying attention to that and adjusting and moving forward from there. I love that. That's awesome. We talked about your background. We talked about a lot of tips and tricks that you're kind of using for helping individuals, and we talked a little bit about your coaching. And interested to hear what else is on the horizon for you. I know you've got your coaching groups coming up. You've got one-on-one coaching. You're part of the CLA group. You got any other projects that you're really excited about for the rest of this year?
I have a group class coming up, and I also would like to do a little bit more public speaking because I think my story may help many other people.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with it. You've got a crazy, inspiring story, and I think more people need to hear it. So I'm excited to follow along with your journey and where you're going, and to see where bigger and broader stages that you're getting out and sharing everything with. And I know that we're kind of getting close on time here, but I want to be courteous and I want to just thank you for taking the time to come out and sharing today and sharing your experience and the knowledge that you've learned through nutrition and everything else with the people and mentors and everything that you've kind of grown through over the years. So thank you. I appreciate it. And it's been awesome going through this. And before I let you go, though, I want to ask you, boiling it all down, all the tragedy, the lessons, and the knowledge that you've learned, and the people that you've connected with and communicated with. And if you were to boil all the lessons down into one piece of advice that you could share with somebody in the entrepreneurial world who's kicking started and they're looking to build some momentum with their business, what would be your piece of advice for them to help them moving forward?
I think the biggest thing I would say right now is to find something that you love. Find something that does not work. Because many people are doing the grind and it's not really working. Why? Because it's not something they could stand behind.
I love that. Finding some passion into it. And what's that saying? It's like, do something you love and you never work a day in your life or something like that.
Yeah, and there's another Mark Twain quote that goes something like, two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why.
Boom. I love that. Man, what a great way to end things off. So, Maria, again, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure to dive into your story and loving to follow along with your journey. So, thank you again so much.
You're welcome. This was a lot of fun.
Until next time, guys, peace, 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 peace. And that's it for this episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found this valuable, the best way to support the show is to rate and review on Apple or Spotify. It helps get the show in front of more driven individuals just like you, and helps them discover the tools to get unstuck, break through burnout, and build something real. And you can always connect deeper with me, our guests, or grab free resources at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. Whether it's a strategy call, the Prime Performance Personality Quiz, some of our products, or just to check out our free content library. Connect with us over at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. And hey, remember this, you weren't meant to just grind. You were built to grow. So stay conscious, stay committed, and keep showing up. Peace, guys.